Hi, Abby. Once more, how are you?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
Good, good. Thank you so much. Listen, last time we had, I'm jumping right in. Last time we had the discussion about fins, and we came to the conclusion that if you start out, you want to have the flexible, bigger, longer fins, and once you get to a certain time or a certain like you're comfortable with it, or you're mediate or intermediate to advanced swimmer, you would then go to smaller fins. Like they would actually, with your the more you're advanced, you will go shorter with the fins, or like we had that sort of as a rule of thumb. Let's put it that way. And obviously, with fins, we're gonna go to the hands, and this time we would talk about the paddles. First of all, do you like paddles? And secondly, how is the rule of thumb? What do you think about them?
Yeah, so I do like paddles, but paddles more so as like resistance training compared to fins, where they're more of like assistance, but can sometimes have some resistance like features to it. Personally, I have a shoulder injury, so when I swim, I don't use a ton of paddles now. But when I grew up and was competitively swimming, I did a lot of pulling, freestyle, and butterfly with paddles, work on my catch and just like the feel for the strokes.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, for me, it was, I mean, yeah, for me, the paddles is the one love I have in the pool. Let's put it that way if you can. Fins are okay, and every now and then you like when you speed up a bit, but for the paddles, yeah, I mean, I'm more on the Ledecky side, you know. The most like the best set looks like that you have the pool boy between your legs and the big paddles on, and then you swim. No, and
yeah.
So paddles. So as we had it with the fins. What is the rule of thumb there? What would you say for someone who starts out, maybe?
Yes. So if you're an adult athlete, I do think that you can get in the pool, hop in, get some paddles that are like kind of a little bit bigger than your hand size, and you can start there. But for younger athletes and like in the age group realm, I don't really believe in using full hand paddles until they're like into their teenage years. Some of that is just due to like the stress a paddle can add to the smaller bodies. And then also like kind of fin-esque, I do think the paddle can kind of fake good technique or make it seem like there's good technique going on, especially when you use the ones that have the straps where it's over your fingers and then one over your wrist. So even if you're entering poorly or doing some big technical errors, you're still going to pull well once you get your hand under the water. That I don't love that for younger kids because you're kind of teaching and reinforcing bag technique through the paddle.
I like that. I like that actually, especially also that you separate it for let's say grown-ups and teenage or like youngsters who start out. I like that, especially the one with faking it. And so I was taught the first thing our coach would do when we got paddles he would have just the one in the middle finger, like for the middle finger, and then he would take off the strap below it. So if you have a paddle, obviously it comes with two straps here. He would take off the other one and says, no, we swim there. There's also drills where you would have the paddles even with no strap and just hold it, and then once you get to the end of the stroke, you would put the thumb in and then lift it over and then swim like this. That is also something we did, because if you did something wrong, obviously the paddle would go fly away. And it's a similar thing as the paddle which you would put in front of your head, just that you have the rotation around the long X, right? Or just the head rotation like this.
Yeah.
And the paddle would stay there, because if you lift it, then obviously the paddle would go flying again, and that's for the paddle, right?
Yeah.
And also the grown-ups, obviously, with having rather have it start when you start off there. It's different than with the fins. We would have rather smaller paddles, hand size or a bit bigger. And then once you're more advanced and you really use it as training, for example, like a Katie Ledecky or like even me, then you can even go large. But you need to be sure that you have a proper body rotation and shoulder rotation, and you doing the stroke properly. If you're not sure, forget about going big on that, I think.
Yeah, I do think that I almost feel like because the muscles around the shoulder and the arm are smaller than the legs, that you're stressing the arm too much with bigger paddles too early. You're going to get an injury response faster.
Yeah.
Probably will with your lower body. So yeah, I do like paddles. I mean, there's all different kinds of paddles. You've got paddles that fit to the palm. You've got bigger paddles. You got paddles that like contour to the palm of your hand. Fingertip paddles. Like there is inundated amounts of paddles. But I just like your traditional, like it's just flat. It's a little bit bigger than my hand. There's a little place for your thumb. Just like you had said, one around your middle finger. Those are like my favorite style of paddles.
Funny that you say that. I had a conversation about the paddles with Jan Wolfgarten, the guy I usually also talk here on that format, and he said the same thing. He said the same thing about, there's so much out there, but all like in the end, flat paddle.
Yeah.
Speedo has them, Tier has them, Arena has them, Finis has them, you name it. The other ones, if you don't know what the paddle can solve, forget it.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of the like fancier paddles have just come up for more of a marketing purpose, but they've tested the contour paddles, whether that actually is able to produce more force than a flat paddle. And they've seen no difference in that. I do like fingertip paddles for like the little ones, which are just
this one's
I appreciate those. I think that they have a purpose more technically than like power production. It's more of like, where are your fingertips? So for younger kids, those are the paddles I would use first. Yeah. But yeah, I wouldn't mess around with getting fancy ones unless you're just looking for like a specific color or pattern or something.
True. I think we can categorize it in that sense. There's two ways. Either you use the pedal for training, or to get stronger and get fitter and whatever. That is one thing, purpose of the pedal, and the other purpose is more for the technique. Yeah. And if it's geared towards technique, you need to see that it needs to show you. The pedal needs to show you. I mean, if you can agree, like the pedal needs to show you how the movement needs to be done properly in front. And you need to get the feel of a high elbow catch and catch that water and actually push it back. And there, the pedal is the tool for it. If you go like me and you need to, or Ledecky, or you name it, all these people, like the pros, there it is more the enhancement, and always they go big because they need to be able to, they already have a high elbow catch, or they have already the catch, and then they can pull through, and there it's actually building muscles and going forward. But as we all know, when you're young, you're not going to go and gear up for building muscles. You want to gear the proper movement technique when you're younger as well. So I guess we put it there. And the other thing was, which I said, what I wanted to say was, the rule of thumb for grown-ups is first start with small ones, and then once you have the technique and once you know why it's there for, maybe then go bigger. But before that, leave it, because you destroy more than you can actually gain.
Yeah, and I would say out of your workout too, if we put a percentage of how much you should use paddles to a total workout, I say not over 30% of the workout should have.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yes, you could. Yeah, it makes sense. I would use it a bit more, but that's more for me, not for. And I would say I'm a seasoned swimmer, I guess. Yeah, I'm a seasoned swimmer. Let's put it that way. I don't know how you can call it. Anyway, I've swam for a long time. So pens, great. Other tools you would suggest? Other tools you would take? So we have fins. Obviously, one must-have tools in a bag. Let's take the bag. So we take the swim bag. After your goggles and your swimsuit, we have fins. I would say that belongs in that bag, and then pedals. They belong in that bag too. They have their spot. What else would you put into a bag?
Yeah, the three other things I prominently have are a kickboard, or like kicking with a board. I like a snorkel. I love using actually a paddle with snorkel and then a buoy, like that 3 combo, and then like taking one out. I like doing that as well, going into like more swimming with and then a pull buoy. And the buoys are I get a lot of questions. I don't know if you get this too on like what style of buoy we should use, because there's like the buoys that are really thick and heavy, and then there's like the really thin small buoys that people have like ripped layers off of, and then there's ones that have wider sides and smaller sides that I think people, just like the paddles, are like, what are the purpose of these like different styles of pull buoys?
Yeah, I get this question too, and also in that other call which I made, we had that too. There are two types of buoys which you could look at. One is the normal shape one, like not too big and not too small, and like the round shaped ones. And then the other one would be, so this is the standard one. You get it. They are blue and white. There are stripes, blue and white, or everyone will now realize which one I mean, or what's it? The other one is black and yellow. Just a normal shaped buoy, like really this oval thing. And then the other ones would be the pool kick, which is like a hybrid between a kickboard and the buoy, right? So you have, or a pool buoy as the other word would be. So you have these kind of pool buoys. The rest, if it's too big, then it's uncomfortable. I think it's too far, too wide. It's uncomfortable, and just easy. Nothing too fancy, I think.
Yeah. I'm not a huge fan of those pull kick ones. I know Arena sent me one recently, and we had a kid who I swam with in college that's all he ever used. He'd kick with it and then put it in for the pulling, and loved it. And then eventually our college coach was like, "Why aren't you using that? What's the purpose of that?" Because he liked the length of a traditional kickboard better than the length of, it's technically smaller when it's the pull kick style. But I've never tested it or anything to decide whether there's like a body alignment difference between the two. I just know that he didn't like the way that he was sitting based off of visuals with the pull kick versus a regular kickboard.
I mean, it's smaller, right? It's the same thing as people come to me and say, "Oh, I take the smaller fins because it's nicely into my bag when I go work, and the bag is not so." And I say, "Yeah, how good are you a swimmer? If you're just a triathlete who just starts out." You need to get the big fins, because even if it's compact and small, they won't help you. And with the pool buoy, like there, I guess it's a bit different, because if you have the pool kick, that for travel I would prefer that. But just go classic. I have a pool buoy and the board, which is proper long. Because what I also do is, because a lot of people come and say, "Oh, you always talk about the core," and I mentioned this also on Instagram page several times, is I use, instead of a pool buoy, I would take the kickboard between my legs. And if you have a pool kick, that deceives the purpose. And if you have a small board, also deceives the purpose, because with the big board, that has a certain lift. But that lift means also that the board can flip out very quickly if you don't hold it properly. What the effect will be of this kickboard between your legs would be that you need to engage your core muscles, that you can swim properly, that the board doesn't fall out when you turn or whatever. And if you're good at it, it doesn't matter what you put between your legs. You just like properly swim. I don't know if that makes sense. So that I would do.
Yeah, and like for reference, I went and grabbed like my pull kickboard just so we could show like a visual. Like,
true, good.
Comparatively to like a regular board, like they don't even pass your elbows.
Yeah.
But they do have that nice little indent in the middle there where you'd actually put that in between your legs for pull buoying. But it is like styrofoam compared to like, I have a really dense buoy. I don't know if you've ever had one of these. It's like hard. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one I use normally.
Yeah. And then what about this one? Like, how do you feel about like the wider?
No, that's too big. I think it's way too big. That's the one I said. It's way too big.
This one's too big.
No.
If you had someone on this though, which way would you put the pull buoy? Would you put the thicker part front or?
So the thicker part, usually for me, it's also with the other one. They're also bigger on the one end, on the one side. These ones are usually sometimes also a bit bigger on one side. I will always put the bigger part facing down to the ground.
Okay, gotcha. So you would be like this, or you would
I don't know how you would do it. I mean, I think it's a bit of a mystery. I don't know why it is even like that.
See, the way that I've thought about this, but I haven't come to a firm conclusion, is wondering if it has to do with your center of gravity. And like for women, like our center of gravity is lower, so like we need more assistance. So maybe it's like bigger in the front versus the back, versus men is maybe bigger in the back versus the front. But honestly, I don't know. So that's why I asked. I really don't know.
No, I really don't know. I would need to research it. Maybe I research it and put it into the caption below. I will do that. That's a good thing. And the pool kick, I like that one. I have two, and I have another one from Speedo, which is a bit more pool boy shape, but a bit flatter and has another shape. But it's basically this similar to this one. As I said, for travel, here it makes sense that if you travel, you take something like that, a pool kick, because you can easily do the kicks also with that. With the fins, sorry, that extra space you need to use, sorry, it doesn't work. There's no cheap, like, I always laugh when they come to me and say, oh, you know, now I had the compact version of being fast, and said, now you don't.
Yeah. There is no easy way. And even a traditional kickboard, too. I always never take a kickboard with me when I'm traveling because most pools have some versions of kickboard, but I really don't like the kickboards that are really flimsy and like foamy because I feel like when I'm holding them, they kind of just like mold to however I'm pushing on it versus like a thicker kickboard that's made of like a harder foam. I love that style of board where it's not something that's like
the hard one is one which is the one which I learned. I learned with this very hard thingy part, like it was super hard. I learned it with this, and so I'm used to that. If it's too flimsy, also then use. I don't know. It doesn't work. So I guess we agree. So pool boy or buoy, kickboard, fins, paddles, and the snorkel, which actually a lot of people forget, but I think it's a very important tool as well.
Yeah, I love a snorkel. I do think that's hard to travel with, but I like the ability of pulling without having to turn your head, because then you can really see your arms. I think that's the only time where a swimmer for freestyle can really pay attention to the stroke. When their head is totally down and they're not so nervous about, am I breathing every 3? Am I breathing every 1? Every 4? It's like very focused. And I do think you take out some rotation that way too. When you're flatter, you're working on just that pull phase.
True. I would not. I like the snorkel just for that technical reason, and that you every now and get this feel of it. I couldn't do a whole session with it because I need to have my rotation in it. But it helps a lot to see, and I like that what you said. It really helps a lot to see. Other tools, I don't know. There is too much out there. If you try. For everyone who's listening, who starts out, just get these tools to work and be comfortable with these ones. Once you are there, you will tell me afterwards if you still need something else. I don't know. It's just that. And then there is if you then more advanced, if you go pro, then obviously we have also these the rubber bands, which you pull back or which you go swim against, so it gets you there. These are all tools, but yeah, if you start out or you're a swimmer or triathlete, fins, snorkel, pool boy or buoy, kickboard, and paddles. Snorkel. Once again, forgot about that one.
Yep. The top 5 essentials.
Good. That's a good one. We link them in the caption below, so everyone knows. And I will find out about that. Why it's bigger on one side and why not? I don't really know. I have no clue about that.
TV.
Yeah, I will do that. So we concluded with that. Thank you very much for the call, and let's find another topic we can talk about and knock ourselves out in that sense.
Sweet.
Thank you.